But do you think that China's reaction to her comments in the legislature contributed to her victory?
Absolutely. We call this the Xi Jinping bump. I think it was a calculation by the Chinese to try and weaken Takaichi or the LDP and potentially install a weak prime minister, a rotating prime ministership. But it obviously backfired. The LDP has come back into power, 316 seats today. Other more centrist or right-of-center parties have also strengthened their position. And this means Takaichi can engage in the kinds of domestic reforms and foreign policy actions that I don't think it was possible in the previous diet. And that means likely on the domestic front, tax reductions, gasoline tax reductions, policies for families, policies to deal with inflation. But on the foreign policy side, as I mentioned, they're going to continue to try and move towards a defense budget that is about 3 to 3.5% of GDP. That's over the long term. These are all defensive acquisitions. They're going to continue to maintain their 3 non-nuclear principles because Japan is really against nuclear weapons. And they're going to continue to try and build partners around China. And that's, again, South Korea, Southeast Asian countries, India, the EU, Canada, and many others. Japan sees its way through to Beijing through building strong partnerships with other countries based on rule of law, multilateralism, transparency, and again, open communication.
Stephen, I'm just wondering, PM Takaichi's firm stance on China was part of her appeal, as I think you kind of touched on that, and you referred it to as a Xi bump. But now that the Takaichi and her party has, scored big time in last week's election, I'm wondering if you see the possibility of her extending an olive branch?
So, Lisa, we have discussions here, and this is a cycle. The Chinese find an opportunity to escalate, and they escalate to a high level. And what the Japanese often say here is that they have to help the monkey climb down from the tree that it climbed too high. And the meaning is that China did too much. And now it's time for the Japanese to, put out a fig leaf to try and help the monkey climb down from the tree. So how do we save face for the party? How do we de-escalate situations between Japan and China when the party has kind of put itself into a corner where it has this nationalist stance? It's blaming Japan for everything and calling Japan a militarist society. So Japan right now is already thinking about how they can help the monkey climb down from the tree, de-escalate, open the door up, for example, to tourists, to Chinese students in Japan, and to open up doors to communication on issues such as climate change or dealing with things like piracy in the South China Sea. This is the steps we're going to see by the Takaichi administration over the coming months and years to try and rebuild the relationship with China. But at the end of the day, it's what happens in Beijing that matters, and if the Chinese continue to move in the direction they are, I think it's going to be difficult for Takaichi or any leader in Japan to repair relations that was primarily escalated in a negative direction by Beijing since November 8th.
What about the economic side of things? PM Takaichi, she's seen as sort of an heir to late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and some market analysts are saying that it won't be long before she starts to kind of pressure the BOJ to keep an easy monetary policy once the yen and JGB yields stabilize. What's your assessment?
So she's not going to be a clone of Prime Minister Abe. She's not Abe 2.0. She is Takaichi 1.0. And she's going to take the successful lessons that she learned from the Abe administration and try to apply those successful lessons to working with the BOJ to work on rates. Where we're going to head, it looks like the head of the Bank of Japan is moving towards increasing rates in Japan. This is part of a long-term strategy to have a sustainable inflation in the country, to be able to continue to make the country an attractive destination for FDI, and to continue to, again, make the economy grow, considering it's really heavy the downward pressures on the economy, such as demographics, which are very, very serious in Japan. So I think she's going to, again, work based on being Takaichi, not being Prime Minister Abe. And that means looking at what are the conditions today, where they need to move forward in the future, and how they can work with the Bank of Japan to have an interest rate that reflects the realities of the economy today and where it's going.